Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
All right. Once again, we are on. This is week number 16 for the NFL. I am the TheMoJoKing. He is the great Donnie Oooh, and we are Hidden Gems Football, brought to you by the mighty 19 Media Group. How are you doing today, Mr. Oooh?
Doing pretty good. How's everything, Mo?
Doing pretty good. I got to see my little man perform today, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. I don't have all his Christmas presents yet, so I'm not happy about that. But, you win some, you lose some. All right. All right. Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to our faithful listeners and viewers. We survive, we thrive because of you. So thank you very much. Let's get into it, shall we? Usually I give a breakdown of what we do every week. Let's not bother. Let's just get into it this time, all right? So section number 1, we're going to find out what is happening with Donnie Oooh. What is your one thing that you noticed for the week?
It's too numerous to actually single down to one thing, but it's an overall narrative. This last week, we had exciting game after exciting game after exciting game. We had the triple header this past Saturday, in which the first game of that slate was Minnesota making history, overcoming the largest deficit in NFL history, 33 points, to defeat the Indianapolis Colts in overtime. But then I was followed up the next day on Sunday with 3 other games that there was large deficits and the team overcame. So I'm going to just go right into it. Like I said, on Saturday, we had the Vikings. They were down 30-0 in the first half against Indianapolis. They came back on the shoulder of Kirk Cousins, even though he really wished he was fleet of foot. And multiple times he thought he was able to get out that pocket and he was just tripped up. But between Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and I believe KJ Osborne, they put on a clinic in that second half. And it was topped off by Dalvin Cook's screen pass that was able to tie the game to put them into overtime. And that was one of those games that I'm looking at the score in the first half, and I believe they was up like, let's say 20-0, something to that effect. And for some reason, in my gut, I had a feeling that the Vikings were going to, if not win, but at least make it more competitive than it currently was. When it got to 30-0, I still had in my gut, and I'm not a Vikings fan. I respect what they do, but I'm not a Vikings fan. But in my gut, I was like, you know what? They might just pull this off. And they did. They did. I mean, for as much flack as Minnesota has gotten this whole year, because a lot of people are saying their record doesn't really tell the story of how good or how bad they are. A lot of people call them frauds. I wouldn't be one of them because I go by the saying of Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are. So if they're 11-3, then by hook or crook, they're 11-3. You can look at the point score, points against. There's only like a 2-point margin, but 11-3 and that's 11-3. And you come back against any team, you come back 30 points down, and you only have 30 minutes to do that, to get that done. Bravo. Now, moving into the Sunday games, one of my favorite outcomes, even though it cost me bread, because I am the parlay guy, was the Cowboys. The Cowboys lost a 17-point lead. Matter of fact, there is a stat. And Donnie Oooh is all about the vibes. I'm really not into stats. But there's a stat. This week, there were 3 games in which a team overcame a 17-point deficit to win. And I believe that was the first time it's happened in years. Matter of fact, I'll just say in years. If that was the first time it happened at all, then great. But I know that hasn't happened in recent memory. Let's put it that way. The Cowboys were up 27-10 midway through the third quarter until it was Dak time. And you know what Dak time means? That means it's time for him to throw the game away. Dak Prescott has thrown for the most interceptions in the league since his return. Dak Prescott threw the ultimate pick six in overtime that directly caused them to lose. And y'all couldn't even beat Jacksonville. Jacksonville, who beat y'all to raise their record to 6-8. The Cowboys are the gift that keeps on giving for other teams. Now, the next game was the evil empire, the New England Patriots. They didn't come back down from 17, but they were down 14 points. They were down 17-3 against the Las Vegas Raiders. And they was able to battle back. And the last play of the game, Stevenson, the running back for New England, had a massive game. And in his infinite wisdom, and it's a tie game now, tie game in 2020. All you have to do is take a knee, and you're going to overtime. His infinite wisdom, he decides before he was able to get tackled to lateral to Jacoby Myers. What does Jacoby do? Instead of going forward, instead of going sideways, he runs back 10 yards and then throws the ball an additional 10 yards to who? Mac Jones. Mac Jones. Of course, the pass was intercepted, or should I say, the pass was caught by Chandler Jones, who mushed the hell out of Mac Jones in his journey to the end zone to give the Raiders an unfathomable victory, even though they was actually favored. But it's just you would never think that would happen to a Bill Belichick coach team, but yet it did. Maybe finally the karma is going the opposite direction. Unfortunately, my JT at Jets could not take advantage of that, but we're not talking about them right now. But the last game on the slate of Alcoa fantastic finishes. Those people from a certain age know exactly what I'm talking about with the Alcoa. But Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Bengals, who I believe, tell you the truth, is the best team in the AFC. They came back from a 17-0 deficit against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road to ultimately win 34-23. Joe Burrow threw for 4 touchdowns. Did you know Tom Brady was responsible for 4 turnovers, 2 interceptions, 2 lost fumbles? That game was another game that even though I saw them down 17-0, I knew it wasn't sustainable for Tampa Bay side. It was just a matter of time before Cincinnati got into a rhythm, got their legs underneath themselves, and came away with the victory. I ain't gonna lie, I turned the game off, and when I turned it back on, I was like, oh shoot, they actually came all the way back. Wow. Which was good. Well, not good for my pocket, but it was good. But those games to me is leading into a potentially exciting postseason. Because last year's postseason was one for the record books, and it looks like in the lead up to this year's postseason, we might have more of the same.
Amazingly, with all the excitement in the air and all the games that looked like they were going to go one way and turn the other way, the favorites still went 12-4 for the week. And really, the only real upset was that Dallas game. The other games were kind of hazy anyway. I wanted to see some upsets. We almost got there, but we didn't quite get there. And there was quite a few games like that.
Maybe it might have been an upset. Dallas actually won. So that's just my little antidote.
All right. More Dallas slander. Cowboy fans are coming for you.
Hey, you know where to find me. BK, baby.
Yes. Well, I was going to say you can find him at Donnie Oooh on Twitter, but if you want to go find him in Brooklyn, that's on you.
All right. Shoot. You can find me at, what he said.
All right, let's talk Survivor updates, and then we'll go into the bigger spreads for the week. As far as last week in Survivor, like I said, 12 of the favorites won, which is not really good for eliminating anybody. And sure enough, both leagues, only 3.8% of entries were eliminated, which is nothing. Let's move on to this week, see what we're doing. Typically we went through these big spreads saying who you'd want to pick, but Survivor, you probably used all of them. So we're just going to go through it real quick. Donnie, you tell me if you think any of these lines are wrong, you like any of the underdogs, whatever you got with these games. Any of them you want to talk about, all right? All right, so we have Atlanta going to Baltimore to face the Ravens. The Ravens are 7.5-point favorites. Lamar Jackson looks like he will be coming back this week, which is the reason the spread is what it is. The Buffalo Bills are heading to Chicago to face the Bears. The Bills are 8.5-point favorites. The Seahawks are going to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 9.5-point favorites. The Houston Texans are going to Tennessee to face the Titans. This is a game I mentioned last week. The Titans are 7-point favorites. And in the Washington Commanders going to San Francisco to face the 49ers. Washington pretty much has to win this game, but the 49ers are 7-point favorites. Out of those 5 games, Donnie, is there anything you expect to upset or any of them catch your attention?
The Kansas City Seattle game. The Chiefs to me, and I'm not sure if I've said it on air or not, but I know I've thought it. The Chiefs to me are a good team, but they're nowhere near a dominant team. To tell you the truth, I feel like that actually should bolster Patrick Mahomes' case for MVP as well as he's been playing to get this team to this point. 11-3, like I've said, they don't have that explosive component to their offense, so it makes it very hard for them to me. It makes it hard for them to really blow people out consistently because they don't have the explosion. They damn near lost against the Texans this last week. I know they didn't cover. I think that was one of those 14-point spreads or something like that.
Yep, it was 14.5 points.
Yeah, and I'm looking, and I knew I wasn't. If I was going to put money on it, I would have put it against the spread. I would have, because like I said, Kansas City doesn't blow anybody consistently out. So against the spread, I would probably lean toward the Seahawks because the Seahawks, just the way they play, pretty much lends itself to be more of a close game, a nip and tuck game. Even if they're not on the winning side, it's always within at least a possession or so, a score or so. Also, like I said, the Seahawks are pretty much battling for their playoff lives. They're on the road. I don't really trust Geno. I'm writing him off, erasing him, and all that. So with that, yeah, that's the game that I would look at. So against the spread, I would pick the Chiefs. The Seahawks. So I guess, yeah, Seahawks against the spread, and I would not touch this game for Survivor because to me, there is a possibility the Chiefs can lose. So, but that's the game that I would be zeroing in on.
All right, I think I agree with most of your points. The only thing with me that I tend not to lean towards the Seahawks is that they are looking like they're spiraling downward. So that's what really hesitates with me. Like I could see the Chiefs winning this by 10. Just off the strength of the Seahawks playing badly, not even the Chiefs really doing anything special. But I agree with you as far as Mahomes, especially. Like I think he's really proving how great he is this season. Because without Tyreek Hill, they have a lot less margin of error, and he's still finding ways to win. The one game that catches my attention, and this is going to sound really weird if you were listening last week, was the Houston Texans going to Tennessee to face the Titans, and the Titans are 7-point favorites. Now, last week, I specifically said this was the game I was looking at targeting. I still might target it, but I'm not so sure anymore. Tennessee's lost 4 straight now. They haven't looked very good. Meanwhile, while the Texans have lost the last 2, they almost beat the Cowboys and they almost beat the Chiefs. Now, almost doesn't get you very far in anything but horseshoes as far as sports go. But it does get you somewhere in point spreads. And the Titans should win this. They should win it by more than 7, you would think. But just how the teams are trending, I think I would take the Texans with the points. Just hope that they keep it close again. The rest of these games, they all look like pretty obvious winners. One quick question, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Washington has any chance against San Francisco?
They have a chance. But if I'll put it this way. I would say they would have a better chance if the game was at home. But being the fact they have to go on the road, especially after the last week's loss, just how heartbreaking that loss was. And it was talk that they gave a vote of confidence to Heineke, but pretty much at any sign of trouble, I believe Ron Rivera said, we might have to use a spark. Get a spark. So, they have a chance, but very slim.
I think the way San Francisco's been playing the last month or so, they just look really dominant. Heineke does make miracle wins, so I guess they do have a chance. But honestly, I think San Francisco should really blow them out. Out of these spreads, I'm kind of surprised the San Francisco spread isn't bigger. All right, let's move on to some close games with some playoff ramifications. All right, so first up, we have the 10-4 Cincinnati Bengals. They're 3.5 point favorites, going to New England to face the 7-7 Patriots. The total is expected to be 39.5 points, which Vegas thinks the score will be Cincinnati 21.5, New England 18. As far as injuries go, Cincinnati, Hayden Hurst has a calf injury. He's likely out again. Devontae Parker for the Patriots has a concussion. He's likely out. And Damian Harris has a thigh injury. He was practicing last week, so it's a good chance he'll play this week. What's your take on this game?
I want to see how well New England bounces back from that loss, like that comically bad loss in Las Vegas. It would not surprise me that New England would be raring to go. I just don't believe that they're talented enough to keep up with the explosive offense of Cincinnati. I believe that Joe Burrow is that good of a quarterback. He shouldn't be scared about the quote unquote boogeyman of Belichick. So, it'll be a nip and tuck game, but I believe the Bengals should win just on the strength of more talent.
What about 3.5 points?
3.5 points? Yeah, I could see Cincinnati covering.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Cincinnati's won 6 straight wins now, and they're just clicking in all dimensions of the game. And like you said, Burrow's looking superior, to say the least. Meanwhile, the Patriots have lost. They've lost 3 of their last 4. I just think that, like you mentioned, that there's just too much talent on the Cincinnati side. Do you have anything on the over-under? 39.5?
No, I think I'll leave that alone.
Yeah, I think I probably would too. I slightly leaned over, but I probably just wouldn't bet it at all. All right, next up, another playoff important game. We have the 7-7 Detroit Lions going to face the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are 5-9. Detroit is a 3-point favorite. The total is 44.5 points. That means that they're expecting the Detroit Lions to be 23.75, while the Carolina are 20.75. There's no major recent injuries as far as the offensive starters. What do you think of this game?
Just out of spite, Carolina. No, tell you the truth, I looked at that whole game. And of course, like I said, I had a bias looking at the game because I'm a Jets fan. But I looked at that whole game and tell you the truth, I know which squad Detroit is on this winning streak. They've been hot. They didn't impress me at all. They really didn't. They did what they needed to do to win, but in reality, they only scored 13 points. Remember, they had a punt return for a touchdown, and they scored 20 points. They only scored 13 points, and even 3 of those points were set up from a boneheaded interception by Zach Wilson. So the defense legitimately only gave up 10 points. They wasn't impressive. So like I said, out of spite, Carolina. And based on the platform, Carolina too. Because Carolina still has stuff to play for. They still are in line to win the division if this is a key game for them. So yeah, Carolina both ways. Spite and legitimately.
All right. I'm definitely on the opposite end of this. Although I do agree with you that Detroit didn't look very impressive last week. And what troubled me more than the offense really was what the defensive backfield looked like. They made a bunch of mistakes. If Zach Wilson was playing up to an average quarterback, I think the Jets would have won. Because even the last drive, there were a couple of plays that people were wide open. He just missed them. And I think that's going to cause Detroit problems once they get into the playoffs. But problem is that they're facing Carolina this week. I don't think Carolina's defense is as good as the Jets. The other thing is that Carolina, although the Lions have won 6 of their last 7. Meanwhile, Carolina split. They've gone 3-3 in their last 6. Their wins have been at Seattle, then against Denver at home, and then Atlanta at home. The Lions, because they're so hot, are playing way above all of those teams that they've beaten. I don't expect to see Carolina step up and get a victory. So even though Detroit's on the road, I like Detroit. I like Detroit with the 3 points. It's possible. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible I will put them into my survivor mix. I'm at least going to look at it.
Wow. I guess you just running with the Detroit narrative all the way, huh?
This matchup, because I just don't think, I think if it's funny, I'm because they're Lions. I was going to say, if there's a paper tiger here, I actually don't think it's the Lions. I think it's the Panthers. So that's the reason I'm leaning with Detroit. They're on the road though, so unless I'm jammed up, I'm probably not going to take it as far as survivor, but I think I like Detroit, and I like them with 3 points. All right, next up, and I can't believe I'm still talking about this team as a possible playoff matchup, but they're still technically in it. On Christmas Day, the 6-8 Green Bay Packers are going to face the 8-6 Miami Dolphins in Miami. Miami's 6.5-point favorites. The total is projected to be 46.5 points. That means that they're expecting the Dolphins to score 26 and the Packers to score 20. 26.5 for the Dolphins. As far as injuries, A.J. Dillon, who had scored 2 touchdowns last week, has a possible concussion, probably be in concussion protocol. Although the Dolphins didn't have any major injuries last week. What do you think about this game, Donnie?
To me, Tua has had 3 consecutive games that he looked like trash. To me, the weather did not come into play, but so much for Tua last week because it didn't start really coming down snowing until late in the fourth quarter. And if anything, Buffalo was the one that drove all the way down the field in the snow, and never really allowed Tua to get the ball back. I think the glass slipper isn't fitting anymore. Aaron Rodgers has newly found motivation because he still believes that there's a sliver of a chance that they can sneak into the playoffs, even though I think that's far-fetched. But I believe if you mentioned it, if not last week, maybe the week before, that the 2 old Lions you was really concerned about was Brady and Aaron Rodgers potentially putting a wrench in somebody's playoff chances. And based on the result of last night, it was against a depleted Rams team, but it was able to ramp up the confidence of Green Bay. I'm going Green Bay.
Really? So you're going Green Bay straight out for the victory? Or with the points of 6.5?
No, straight victory. Straight victory.
All right. So, okay. There's no chance of Dolphins covering. Just Green Bay straight victory.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I will say that as far as upset, that would not be that upsetting, honestly, even though the spread is 6.5 points. That's a pretty big spread. But my one pushback to you is that the Dolphins have lost 3 straight, but they were Buffalo, the Chargers, and the 49ers all on the road. They're coming back home. They're 6-2 at home. I think, and I've been waiting for it's been really weird. It's been a weird few weeks because I think we attacked the Dolphins a little bit, saying Tua wasn't quite, because they were saying he was MVP potential, and that seemed ridiculous. And now it's the flip side. I think we're all getting a little bit too low on Tua. I think he's played really bad, but I think he's a good chance that he's going to recover. So, hey, how you doing?
This is my son, Chef Mix.
What
this
up,
is
what
my
up?
son who I recorded, I think, our second episode, and I said, hey, and he said, hey, but I wanted him on camera because it is holiday season. Yeah, take
All right.
this video.
Merry Christmas.
I'll see you later.
Yo, what's up? I'm Desmond, and I'm the host of Hip to the Games, a podcast from 19 Media Group, where the brilliance of basketball and hip-hop's past and present is genuinely appreciated. Join me every other Friday as we celebrate some of the greatest artists, albums, moments, songs, bars, punchlines, NBA teams, players, just anything and everything to do with the game of rap and the game of basketball. See, if you like basketball and hip-hop, that means you're hip to the game. But no matter where you fall on that spectrum, I encourage you to join the fun every other Friday on your favorite podcast platform, courtesy of the great 19 Media Group.
I just think that the Dolphins should be able to win this game. I wouldn't bet it with the 6.5 points, but I think the Dolphins are going to win this game.
I mean, I can see that. Like, yeah, I could see them squeaking out a victory, but like I said, I really believe Green Bay is probably going to win.
All right, fair enough. All right, the last game for us, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 6-8. They're traveling to face Arizona in Arizona. The Cardinals are 4-10. The Buccaneers are 5.5 point favorites. The total is 41.5 points. That means that they're expecting the Buccaneers to score 23.5 and the Cardinals 18. The only real injury of note as far as offenses go is Julio Jones' knee, constantly off and on. It looked like he might have returned last week. He didn't, so better chance he returns this week. Do you have any take on this game?
Not really. Arizona is not really a team that I look forward to watching, especially with the loss of Kyler Murray. I really thought that they were going to beat Denver last week, and Denver had their backup quarterback in Rippon, and they did not succeed. So, Chris, just the last bit of Chris's magic. I just don't see Tom Brady really crapping the bed 2 weeks in a row especially against inferior competition. I will say this, and I'll keep it short. This season, whether fair or foul, is a real indictment on Todd Bowles as a head coach. Unfortunately, like to me, it was almost like he was handed this ready-made team, even though, they're 2 years older than they were in their Super Bowl year, but he was handed this team, and they're nowhere near what they were the last 2 years. So, but yeah, I would go Tampa Bay.
Yeah, the reason I selected this game was because this is really going to be interesting to me as far as seeing what Brady does. Because obviously Brady, he doesn't win all his games, but it's very few times I remember him embarrassing himself. And he kind of did that in the third quarter of that Cincinnati game. Just last week or the week before, I was saying that I think, last week, as a matter of fact, against the Bengals, I was saying that they had pumped up the spread too much because they had the game too close because of the Brady factor. They thought that, just because it's Brady, he was going to keep them close against the Bengals. I think I'm going to go the other side on this one. I feel like Brady still has enough talent and has too much pride to just let that slide through what happened that last game. I expect them to win, and I expect them to win by a pretty big margin. Kind of against my philosophy to go with the road team, so I'm going to have to look at it and see if I'm going to select them as a survivor or not. But I would be stunned if Tampa Bay loses this game.
I agree.
All right. As anybody can see on the ticker, you can follow us. But Donnie, close it out for us.
Okay. I'd like to wish each and every one of y'all a happy holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa, because we won't speak to y'all until Kwanzaa's started. So once again, have a happy holiday to each and every one of y'all and everybody's family. And with that being said, Hidden Gems Football. It's a part of the 19 Media Group. Bye.
By the way, check out Hip to the Games. Yours truly was on it. Great thing. Desmond Powell did a really good job. All right. That's it. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Merry Christmas.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
And, I didn't put a ticker in for that one either. Donnie, do you know I have not gotten this ticker right, not even once in any of these weeks we've done this so far?
Really?
Really? Never. Not once.
Matter of fact, remember last week I was like, oh shit, you got the takeover. So at least for my segment, you got the ticker right.
Hey man, you know it's funny. You ran off and then I forgot how to use the ticker again.
See, that's why it's a partnership. That's why it's a partnership.
Yeah, I need to hand over the reins for this ticker because this is ridiculous.